You found me before the others could. That kind of instinct is dangerous, and I like it. Sit still, little one. I want to remember this moment. How lovely. So many eager eyes. Waiting, watching. You're mine for the evening. Let me take control and guide you through something unforgettable. Hi, how are you doing? It's, I mean, yeah, you could get the blues when you're trying to just enjoy your vacation and then it starts to suddenly be like, oh yeah, well, you're not gonna get this vacation any longer, so. And winter break is always a nice break away from all the studying and the brain hurties and having to put all that effort in, especially since a lot of people I know are doing like harder like things in college. Like my cousin, for example, is trying to do the whole prosecution thing, and I'm like, that's not gonna go well for you. But you can definitely try. Good luck trying to pass the bar, though. Oh, Leggy crying. Don't cry, Leggy. You're okay, Leggy. You don't need to cry, Leggy. Anyway, as I said last time, I'm going to try and just do the frontal mic. And like last time, like, you know how I usually do both sides of the ears? I figure since I'm reading a book, we might try on this one, me just doing the front, because it's actually a lot more comfortable for me based on where my microphone is, and also I can actually just lean back and just kind of relax while I'm reading the book instead of having to go to like either side and like my back starting to hurt after 2 hours. That's usually why I always end up only doing 5 chapters, is because I physically start hurting after that, because I have to constantly hold up the book so I can read it, right? And so I figure if I could actually be comfortable in my chair, and I'm testing that with this book out of these series, then maybe I could do longer streams. Maybe I could do more chapters than just 5, or the odd one that does a little bit more when I have like prologues or like a couple extra chapters. This one actually has 29, so if I can get through this and my back doesn't start hurting, I'll start considering doing 10 chapters at a time. If you haven't already and you're new to the series, I did put a link in the pin right there, so you can actually go to my Twitter, and that is the same pictures from book 5, because they don't take the opportunity to update the maps in these books. So it's the exact same map, so you can actually jump into the world of warriors just by going into that and looking at the maps. Excuse me a sec, I'm gonna open my tea. Yeah, So the main reason why I had only 5 chapters at a time was mostly so I'm comfortable. I'm talking a long time, and so my voice, I start getting this like gurgling sound in my throat because with how often I talk, I end up swallowing the saliva, right? And the saliva has air bubbles in it because you're constantly talking, so it's creating the air bubbles in your mouth and you end up swallowing them. I don't have the capability of burping, so I start growling in my throat, and then I get like the chest pressure, and that on top of the back pain was making it to where like 5 chapters was like the cutoff for me. But yeah, so I'm going to be doing the little snippet on the back, and then I'm going to be doing the prologue through chapter 5 today. But I am Scriptsune, your book reading kitsune, and I hope you guys have had a great week. Let's go ahead and we're going to start with the back snippet, then we're going to go through the clan update. So each of these books has the clan lists, and if you look at the clan lists, you can kind of gather what's going to happen just by the name changes. But first I'll do the snippet on the back, then we'll do the clan update, then we'll do the prologue, and from there do the chapters. So the back says, "Fire alone can save our clan." So this is the original prophecy from the first book, and it's finally coming into fruition. The time has come for prophecies to unfold and for heroes to rise as Tiger Star's quest for power plunges the forest into terrible danger. In order to save his clan, Fireheart must uncover the meaning of an ominous prophecy. 4 will become 2. Lion and Tiger will meet in battle, and blood will rule the forest. So that last part, I think that is going to be the prophecy piece that is actually in this section of the book, because there's always some sort of premonition with each of these under that main one with Fire Alone Can Save Our Clan. So 4 will become 2, Lion and Tiger will meet in battle, and blood will rule the forest. So we already know that Tiger Heart, Tiger Claw, Tiger Star. No, hi Lone. There's so many name changes in this. Tiger Claw is now Tiger Star because he became a leader. So I'm pretty sure that he's the tiger and that Fireheart is probably the lion. But 4 will become 2 makes me rather concerned that maybe there might be 2 cats dying in this book, especially since it says there's a lot of danger. I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens and if I was correct in that or not. How you doing, Lone? We're just getting into the little back synopsis and the whole clan run over. So that's what I think might happen with the synopsis, but if I look at the allegiances of the clans, we might get a little bit more info on that, because I think that snippet of prophecy is gonna be happening in some section of the book. Also, I found out last time after the book ended, I was very curious at what cats were on the faces of the books. And I looked it up and I'm like, wow, those are some giveaways to what's going to happen. Depending on the cat on the front of the book, it's actually telling you what's going to happen. So the previous book was actually Blue Star was on the cover, but Blue Star didn't really do much in the book until we got to the end, where Blue Star took the fall and went into the river and everything, and then ended up dying with her kits by her side. So it was kind of a dead giveaway that something was going to happen to Blue Star. And This is the first time, but Fireheart is on the cover of this book. So I think that means that the Fire Alone Can Save Our Clan is going to come into fruition now, because based on the last book, we know that Fireheart is going to become Firestar. The star being clan leader. They always change their name when they become clan leader and add a star at the end. Hope you've been well, Lone. I've seen that you have been streaming a lot as well. So I'm gonna run through the allegiances, and we're gonna be starting with ThunderClan. So the leader, Firestar, as we can see, we're already getting the name change. He has yet to go to the cave, so this means that he's going to end up going to the cave and getting his status as leader. But the apprentice of Bramblepaw. Bramblepaw is Tiger Claws, aka Tiger Star now. Kit. The one that he keeps trying to take back. Deputy Whitestorm. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Whitestorm being deputy makes sense. Whitestorm is the older warrior that has been helping Fireheart with Blue Star in the past 2 books. So it makes sense because he's very trustworthy to make him deputy. Medicine Cat, Cinderpelt. That's a given. There hasn't been any apprentices with Cinderpelt. Warriors. Darkstripe with the apprentice of Fernpaw. Longtail. Mousefur with the apprentice of Thornpaw. Brackenfur with the apprentice of Tawnypaw. Dustpelt with the apprentice of Ashpaw. Sandstorm. Sandstorm does not seem to have an apprentice as of yet, but I don't know, maybe they actually left that out for once. Because usually if it's more towards the back of the book, usually they leave it out, so who knows. Graystripe, Frostfur, Goldenflower, and Cloudtail. So I do believe that Cloudtail is actually Firestar's, Fireheart's sister's kit, and they had named him that at the previous book, if I'm recalling correctly. So we're gonna skip past the apprentices because I already said that in the warrior section. The queens. There's only one queen, which is Willowpelt. They used to have a lot more queens, so this is showing that they are not really having any queens currently. Elders, which is One Eye, Small Ear, Dappletail, and Speckletail. So we already know that one of the cats had become an elder in the previous book. And then we have Shadow Clan, with the leader of Tiger Star, deputy of Blackfoot, Medicine Cat of Running Nose, the warriors, Oakfur, Little Cloud, Boulder, Russet Fur, with the apprentice of Cedar Paw, Jagged Tooth, with the apprentice of Rowan Paw. And I see that they actually completely skipped the apprentice section here, because I think they're starting to realize they don't need to put that there if they have it under warriors. Hi Holy, welcome in. And hi, welcome back. How would you say your name? Would that be Cicero's or... What is Caesar? Caesar? Is that right? What's the question for today? What are you asking? And the Queen of Shadow Clan is Tall Poppy. Wind Clan, leader of Tall Star, deputy of Deadfoot, Medicine Cat of Barkface, warriors of Mudclaw, Webfoot, Torn Ear, One Whisker with the apprentice of Gorsepaw, and Running Brook. Today's question is, if you went into a haunted house, what would scare you inside? Well, usually when I have gone to haunted houses, I have ended up laughing because I know they're fake. It makes me nervous more than scared. I guess if I went to one that was actually more like they could actually touch you and you had to sign a waiver, that would be more scary than the ones that I've been to. So I guess touch? Touch would be? The Queens of WindClan. Ashfoot, Morningflower, and Whitetail. Did you get a point refund? What do you mean, did you get a point refund? Let's see. Hang on a second. I don't know what you did, but you know what's gonna happen right now? I actually have points stacked up right now. Watch this. Now everyone gets refunded just because I say so. Have fun with the extra points, Holy. Holy shit, I'm rich. Yeah, I know. You're welcome. Usually I don't refund them. Okay, on to RiverClan. RiverClan has the leader of Leopard Star. We already know in the previous book that the previous leader of RiverClan has died. The deputy of Stonefur, which is a Blue Star's son, I believe, with the apprentice of Stormpaw. Oh, immediately. I'm actually sitting up straight. And then you add the bow and then the maid heads. Of course you did. Of course you did, Holy. You're like, oh, points? Don't mind if I do. RiverClan's medicine cat is Mudfur. Warriors of Blackclaw. Heavy Step. That's a new name. With the apprentice of Dawnpaw. Shadepelt. Mistyfoot. With the apprentice of Featherpaw. Loudbelly. And then the queen is Mosspelt. BloodClan. BloodClan? Hold up. There's another clan now? BloodClan. There's only 2 cats. What? That's interesting. BloodClan with the leader of Scourge. And the deputy of Bone. That sounds ominous. Cats outside the clans. Barley, Ravenpaw, Princess, and Smudge. And it goes on to the map page. It doesn't look like anything has changed on these maps whatsoever, but if you are inclined, then you can check the link in the pin to look at the maps, because I posted pictures on Twitter when I did book 5 and it hasn't changed. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the prologue, then I'll take a quick break, go use the restroom, whatever, make sure I'm filled up on everything, and then we'll start doing the chapters. So, prologue. Rain fell steadily, drumming on the hard black thunderpath that led between unending rows of stone two-leg nests. From time to time, a monster snarled past, its eyes glaring, and a single two-leg scurried along, huddled into its shiny pelt. 2 cats slipped silently around the corner. Oh, thank you, Siribot, for banning a bot. Get out of here, bot. No one needs you. Let me read that sentence. 2 cats slipped silently around the corner, keeping close to the walls where the shadows were deepest. A skinny gray Tom with a ragged ear and bright, watchful eyes went first. Every hair on his body slicked dark with the wet. Behind him prowled a huge tabby with massive shoulders and muscles that slid smoothly under his rain-soaked pelt. His amber eyes glowed in the harsh light. And his gaze shifted back and forth, as if he expected an attack. He paused where the dark entrance to a two-legged nest offered a little shelter and growled. How much further? This place stinks. The gray Tom glanced back. Not far now. It better not be. Grimacing, the dark brown tabby padded on, ears twitching irritably, to flick away the raindrops. Harsh yellow light angled across him, and he flinched as a monster roared around the corner, throwing up a wave of filthy water that reeked of two-leg rubbish. The cat let out a snarl as the water slopped around his paws and the spray drizzled down on his fur. Everything about the two-leg place disgusted him. The hard surface under his paws, the stench of monsters and two legs they carried in their bellies, the unfamiliar noises, and most of all, the way that he could not survive here without a guide. The tabby was not used to depending on another cat for anything. In the forest, he knew every tree, every stream, every rabbit hole. He was considered the strongest and most dangerous warrior in all the clans. Now, his sharpened skills and senses were useless. He felt as if he were deaf, blind, and lame, reduced to following his companion like a kit trailing helplessly after its mother. But it would be worth it. The tabby's whiskers twitched in anticipation. He had already launched a plan that would turn his most hated enemies into helpless prey in their own territory. When the dogs attacked, no cat would suspect that they had been lured and guided every step of the way. And then, if things went according to plan, this expedition into Two-Leg Place would give him all he had ever wanted. The gray cat led the way along the path and across the open space reeking of two-legged monsters, where a swirl of color from unnatural orange lights floated on the puddles. He stopped by the entrance to a narrow alley and opened his jaws to draw in the scent of the air. The tabby halted and did the same, disgustedly swiping his tongue over his lips at the stink of the rotting two-leg food. Is this the place? He asked. This is it, the gray warrior replied tensely. Now remember what I told you. The cat we're going to meet holds command over many cats. You must treat him with respect. Boulder, have you forgotten who I am? Tabby took a step forwards so that he towered over his companion. The skinny gray cat's ears flattened. No, Tiger Star, I haven't forgotten, but you're not clan leader here. Tiger Star grunted. Let's get on with it, he growled. Boulder turned into the alley. He stopped short after just a few paces when a huge shape loomed up in front of them. Who goes there? Broad-shouldered, black and white cat stepped out of the shadows. Strong muscles were outlined under fur plastered to his body by the rain. Identify yourselves. We don't like strangers here. Greetings, Bone, the gray warrior meowed steadily. Remember me? The black and white cat narrowed his eyes and was silent for a few moments. So you've come back, have you, Boulder? He meowed at last. You told us you were going to find a better life in the forest. What are you doing here? He took a step forwards, but Boulder held his ground, unsheathing his claws against the uneven ground. We want to see Scourge. Bone let out a snort, half contempt, half laughter. I can't imagine that Scourge would still want to see you. And who's this with you? I don't recognize him. My name is Tigerstar. I've come from the forest to speak with your leader. Bone's green eyes flicked from Tigerstar to Boulder and back again. What do you want with him? He demanded. Tigerstar's amber gaze burned like the two-legged knight's lights reflected on the shining wet stones around them. I'll discuss that with your leader, not his border patrol. Bone bristled and extended his claws. But Boulder quickly slipped between him and Tigerstar. Scourge needs to hear this, he insisted. Could be to every cat's advantage. For a few heartbeats, Bone hesitated, and then he stepped back, allowing Boulder and Tigerstar to pass. His hostile glare scorched their fur, but he said nothing. Now Tigerstar took the lead, reading... Hang on a second. Now Tigerstar took the lead, treading cautiously as the light faded behind them. On either side, skinny cats were slinking behind piles of rubbish, eyes gleaming as they followed the progress of the two intruders. Tigerstar's muscles tensed. If this meeting went wrong, he might have to fight his way out. A wall blocked the end of the alley. Tigerstar stared around, looking for the leader of these cats of Two-Leg Place. He was expecting an even more massive creature than the broad-shouldered Bone. And at first his gaze swept over the small black cat, crouching in a shadowy doorway. Boulder gave him a nudge and jerked his head in the black cat's direction. There's Scourge. That's Scourge? Tigerstar's exclamation rang with disbelief above the falling rain. He's no bigger than an apprentice. Shh! Panic flared in Boulder's eyes. This may not be a clan as we know it, but these cats would kill if the leader ordered them to. Seems I have visitors. The black cat's voice had a brittle, high-pitched sound, like the splintering of ice. I wasn't expecting to see you again, Boulder. I heard you'd gone to live in the forest. Yes, Scourge, I have, Boulder replied. So what are you doing here? Scourge's voice held the faintest suggestion of a snarl. Have you changed your mind and come crawling back? You expect me to welcome you? No, Scourge. Boulder held the black cat's ice-blue gaze. It's a good life in the forest. There's plenty of fresh kill, no two legs. You haven't come to extol the virtues of forest life. Scourge interrupted him with a flick of his tail. Squirrels live in trees, not cats. His eyes narrowed, glinting with a pale fire. So what do you want? Tigerstar stepped forwards, shouldering the gray warrior aside. I am Tigerstar, the leader of Shadow Clan, he growled, and I have a proposition for you. That is the end of the prologue. So it seems like that's what happened with the dogs. Alright, I'll be right back and then we'll start on chapter 1. I'm back. Okay, you guys ready to start off the actual story? I think that the prologue was back from the previous book to kind of give us an idea of the treachery that Tiger Star is actually going through. To put into this book to show us why the snippet on the back had meant what it did when it comes to the danger. If that makes sense. Okay. Chapter 1. Watery shafts of light sliced through the bare trees as Fireheart carried his leader to her final resting place. With his teeth clenched firmly in her scruff, he retraced the route the dog pack had taken as the brave warriors of ThunderClan lured them to the gorge and their destruction. His whole body felt numb, and his head spun with the terrible realization that Bluestar was dead. Without his leader, the forest itself seemed different, even stranger to Fireheart than the day he had first ventured into it as a kitty pet. Nothing was real. He felt as if the trees and rocks could dissolve like mist in the moment. A vast, unnatural silence covering everything. With the rational part of his mind, Fireheart realized that all the prey had been scared away by the rampaging dog pack. But in the grip of his grief, it seemed that even the forest was stunned into mourning for Bluestar. The scene at the gorge replayed over and over in his mind. He saw again the slavering jaws of the dog who led the pack, and felt its sharp teeth meet in his scruff. He remembered how Bluestar had appeared out of nowhere, flinging herself at the dog, driving it and herself over the edge of the gorge and into the river. He flinched again at the icy shock of the water as he leaped in to rescue his drowning leader, and their hopeless struggles until two RiverClan warriors, Mistyfoot and Stonefur, came to help them. Most of all, Fireheart recalled his dismay and disbelief as he crouched beside his leader on the riverbank, and realized that she had sacrificed her last life to save him and all of ThunderClan from the dog pack. As he bore Bluestar's body home, with the help of Mistyfoot and Stonefur, he kept pausing to scent the air for fresh traces of dog, and he had already sent his friend Greystripe to scout the territory on either side of the trail, searching for signs that the dogs had caught any of the ThunderClan cats in the desperate race for the gorge. So far, to Fireheart's relief, they had found nothing. Now, skirting a bramble thicket, Fireheart set down his lifeless leader once more and raised his head to drink in the air, thankful to taste only the clean scents of the forest. A moment later, Greystripe appeared around a clump of dead bracken. "Everything's fine, Fireheart," he reported. "Plenty of broken undergrowth, but that's all." "Good," Fireheart meowed. His hope rose that the dogs that had escaped the fall in the gorge had fled in terror, and the forest was once again belonged to the 4 clans of wild cats. His clan had lived through 3 terrible moons, when they had become prey in their own territory, but they had survived. Let's keep going. I want to check that the camp is safe before the clan comes back. He and the River Clan warriors took up Bluestar's body again and carried it through the trees. At the top of the ravine that led down to the camp entrance, Fireheart paused. He briefly remembered the early morning, when he and his warriors had followed the trail of dead rabbits that Tigerstar had laid to lure the dog back to the ThunderClan camp. At the end of the trail, they found the body of a gentle Queen Brindleface, slaughtered to give the savage dogs a taste for cat blood. But now everything seemed peaceful, and when Fireheart tasted the air again, he could detect only cat scent coming from the camp. "Wait here," he meowed. "I'm going to take a look." "I'll come with you," Graystripe offered instantly. No. It was Stonefur who spoke, flicking out his tail to bar the Grey Warrior's way. "I think Fireheart needs to do this alone." Flashing a grateful look at the River Clan deputy, Fireheart began picking his way down the ravine, his ears pricked for any sound of trouble ahead. But the strange silence still reigned over the forest. As he emerged from the gorse tunnel into the clearing, Fireheart paused to glance warily around. It was possible that one or more dogs had never made it to the gorge, or that Tigerstar had sent ShadowClan warriors to take over the camp. But all was quiet. Fireheart's fur prickled with the strangeness of seeing the camp deserted like this. Yet there were no sign of danger, and still no scent of dogs or ShadowClan. To be sure camp was safe, he rapidly checked the dens and nursery. Memories came unbidden. The bewilderment of the clan as he told them about the dog pack. The heart-pounding terror of the chase through the forest with the breath of the pack leader hot on his fur. At the foot of the high rock, listening to the wind whispering through the trees, Fireheart thought back to a time Tigerstar had stood there, boldly facing his clan as they discovered the true depth of his treachery. He had sworn undying vengeance as he was sent into exile, and Fireheart was sure that his bloodthirsty plan to set the dog pack on the cats of ThunderClan would not be his last attempt to fulfill his oath. Last of all, Fireheart prowled cautiously through the fern tunnel to Cinderpelt's den. Glancing through the entrance, he saw the medicine cat's healing herbs neatly ranged beside one wall. I think they meant to say arranged instead of arranged there. I'm pretty sure they meant arranged. The strongest memory yet flooded over him, of Spotted Leaf and Yellowfang, who had been ThunderClan medicine cats before Cinderpelt. Fireheart had loved them both, and grief for them swept over him again to mingle with his grief for his leader. Bluestar is dead, he told himself silently. Is she with you now in StarClan? Retracing his steps along the fern tunnel, he returned to the top of the ravine. Graystripe was standing on watch, while Mistyfoot and Stonefur gently groomed the dead leader's body. Everything's fine, Fireheart announced. Graystripe, I want you to go to Sunning Rocks now. Tell the clan that Bluestar is dead, but nothing more. I'll explain everything when I see them. Just let them know that it is safe to come home. Graystripe's yellow eyes brightened. On my way, Fireheart. He spun around and tore off through the forest, heading for Stunning Rocks. The clan had gone to hide while the dogs were following Tiger Star's trail of rabbit blood to their camp. Stonefur, crouching beside Blue Star's body, let out a purr of amusement. It's easy to see where Graystripe's loyalties lie, he remarked. Yes, Mistyfoot agreed. No cat will ever really thought he would stay in RiverClan. Graystripe's kits had been born to a RiverClan queen, and for a while he had gone to RiverClan to be with them. But in his heart, he had never really left ThunderClan. Forced into battle against his birth clan, he had chosen to save Fireheart's life, and the RiverClan leader Leopardstar had banished him from her clan. Her sentence of exile, Fireheart reflected, had freed the Grey Warrior to return to where he truly belonged. With a nod of acknowledgement to the RiverClan warriors, Fireheart took up Blue Star again, and the three cats maneuvered her body down the ravine and into the camp. At last, they could lay her down in her den beneath the high rock, where she would remain until her clan had said farewell to her and buried her with all the honor that such a wise and noble leader deserved. Thank you for your help, Fireheart meowed to the RiverClan warriors. Hesitating for a moment, knowing only too well the significance of his invitation, he added, "Would you like to stay for Blue Star's burial ceremony?" "That is a generous offer," Stonefur replied, showing only a flicker of surprise that Fireheart should admit members of a rival clan to something so private. "But we have duties of our own. We must be getting back." "Thank you, Fire," meowed Mistyfoot. "That means a lot to us. But your clan would think it strange if we stay. They don't know, do they, that Blue Star was our mother?" "No," Fireheart told her. "Only Graystripe. But Tiger Star overheard what you and Blue Star said to each other on the riverbank. You must be prepared in case he chooses to reveal it at the next gathering." Stonefur and Mistyfoot exchanged a glance. Then Stonefur drew himself up, his blue eyes gleaming defiantly. "Let Tiger Star say what he likes," he meowed. "I'll tell RiverClan myself today. We're not ashamed of our mother. She was a noble leader, and our father was a great deputy." "Yes," Mistyfoot agreed. "No cat can argue that, even if they did come from different clans." Their courage and determination reminded Fireheart of their mother, Blue Star. She had given them up to their father, Oakheart, the RiverClan deputy, and the two cats had grown up believing that they had been born in RiverClan. At first, they had hated Blue Star when they learned the truth. But this morning, as she lay dying on the riverbank, they had found in their hearts to forgive her. In the midst of his pain, Fireheart was relieved beyond words that his leader had been reconciled with her kits before she went to StarClan. He alone of all the ThunderClan cats knew how much Blue Star had suffered, watching them grow up in another clan. "I wish we'd known her better," Stonefur mewed sadly, as if he could read Fireheart's thoughts. "You're lucky to have grown up in her clan and been her deputy." just want to remind you guys that fish is active. So if you guys just do exclamation mark fish, you can actually have fun with that. It's a little mini game. I mean, it should pop up. Don't tell me fish is having issues. I think it might need logged back in. Oh yeah, it's not logged in. Look at that. Cool. Okay, now it's fixed. Try that again for you guys. There it goes. I just wanted to make sure it's working. I know. Fireheart looked down sorrowfully at the blue-gray she-cat lying so still on the sandy floor of the clearing. Bluestar looked small and helpless now that her noble spirit had left her body and gone to hunt with StarClan. May we say goodbye to her alone? Mistyfoot asked tentatively. Just for a few moments. Of course, Fireheart replied. We padded out of the den, leaving Stonefur and Mistyfoot to crouch down beside Bluestar's body and share tongues with their mother for the first and last time. As he skirted the high rock, he heard the sound of cats approaching through the gorse tunnel. Hurrying forwards, he saw Frostfur and Speckletail peep timidly into the clearing, hesitating in the shelter of the tunnel before they dared to venture back into the camp. But the same wariness, Brackenfur and Goldenflower followed. Pain stabbed Fireheart's heart to see his cats so wary of their own home, and his eyes sought out one warrior in particular, Sandstorm, the pale ginger she-cat he loved. He needed to know that she was unhurt after the crucial part she had played in luring the dog pack away from the camp. Fireheart spotted his nephew, Cloudtail. The white warrior was carefully escorting Lostface, a young cat who had suffered terrible injuries from the dog pack before they attacked the camp. I just realized something, but Lostface's name is not on the list. That does not forebode well. Next, Cinderpelt came limping through the entrance with a bundle of herbs in her mouth. And pushing eagerly behind her were Bramblepaw and Tawnypaw, the two newest apprentices, who were also Tiger Star's kids. At last, Fireheart saw Sandstorm padding alongside Willowpelt, while Willowpelt's three kids bounced around them, happily unaware of the crisis their clan had endured. A purr swelled in Fireheart's throat as he ran towards Sandstorm and pressed his muzzle into her flank. The pale orange warrior covered his ears with licks, and when he looked up at her, he saw a warm glow in her green eyes. I was so worried for you, Fireheart, she murmured. I couldn't believe the size of those dogs. I've never been so scared in my life. Nor have I, Fireheart confessed. All the time I was waiting, I kept thinking they might have caught you. Caught me? Sandstorm pushed away from him. The end of her tail was twitching. For a heartbeat, Fireheart thought he had offended her, till he saw a sparkle in her eyes. I was running for you and the clan, Fireheart. It felt as if I had the speed of StarClan. She paced into the center of the clearing and looked around, her expression clouding. Where's Bluestar? Graystripe told us she was dead. Yes, Fireheart replied. I tried to save her, but the struggle in the river was too much for her. She's in her den. He hesitated before adding. Mistyfoot and Stonefur are with her. Sandstorm turned to him, her fur bristling with alarm. There are RiverClan cats in our camp? Why? They helped me pull Bluestar out of the river, Fireheart explained. And she's their mother. Sandstorm froze and her eyes grew huge. Bluestar? But how? Fireheart interrupted her by pressing his muzzle against hers. I'll tell you all about it later, he promised. Right now, I have to make sure the clan is okay. While they were speaking, the rest of the clan had appeared through the gorse tunnel and began to gather in a ragged circle around Fireheart and Sandstorm. Fireheart spotted Fernpaw and Ashpaw, the two apprentices who had begun the race to lure the dogs away from the camp. Well done, both of you, he meowed. The young cats let out a purr. We hid in the hazel thicket where you told us, and jumped out as soon as we saw the dogs, mewed Ashpaw. Yes. We knew we had to keep them away from the camp, Fernpaw put in. You were very brave, Fireheart praised them. Once again, he remembered the limp body of Brindleface, the apprentice's mother, murdered by Tigerstar. I'm proud of you. Your mother would be proud too. Ashpaw shrank, suddenly looking like a fragile kid. I was terrified, he admitted. If we'd known what the dogs were like, I don't think we'd have dared to do it. We were all terrified, Dustpelt meowed as he came up and gave Fernpaw a gentle lick. I've never run so fast in my life. You two did brilliantly. Though he praised his own apprentice equally, the warmth in Dustpelt's gaze was all for Fernpaw. Fireheart managed to hide his amusement. Brown Tabby Warrior's affection for her was no secret. You did well too, Dustpelt, Fireheart meowed. The clan owes thanks to all of you. Dustpelt held Fireheart's gaze for a moment before he gave him a little nod of acknowledgement. As he turned away, Fireheart spotted Cloudtail gently guiding Lostface past and stopped them to ask, Are you okay, Lostface? I'm fine, the young she-cat replied, as she glanced around nervously with her good eye. Are you sure none of the dogs got this far? Check the whole camp myself, Fireheart told her. There's no sign of any dogs. She was very brave at stunning rocks, meowed Cloudtail, touching his muzzle to Lostface's shoulder. She helped me keep watch from a tree. Lostface brightened. I can't see as well as I used to, but I can listen and scent. All done, Fireheart meowed. You too, Cloudtail. I was right to rely on you. You've all done well. That was Cinderpelt's voice. Fireheart turned to see her limping towards him, with Mousefur just behind her. There was no panic at all, not even when we heard the pack howling. And every cat's okay? Fireheart asked anxiously. They're all fine. The medicine cat's blue eyes glowed with relief. Mousefur tore a claw when she was running from the dogs, but that's all. Come on, Mousefur. I'll give you something for it. As Fireheart watched them go, he realized that Whitestorm had appeared beside him. Can I have a word with you? Of course. I'm sorry. Whitestorm's eyes were full of anguish. I know you asked me to take care of Bluestar when we were fleeing from the dogs, but she slipped away from stunning rocks before I realized she had gone. It's my fault she's dead. Fireheart narrowed his eyes at the older warrior. For the first time, he noticed how exhausted he looked. Although Whitestorm was the senior warrior of ThunderClan, he had always seemed strong and vigorous, white coat sleek and well-groomed. Now he looked 100 seasons older than the cat who had left camp that morning. That's ridiculous, Fireheart insisted. Even if he had noticed that Bluestar had gone, what would he have done? She was your leader. Couldn't have made her stay. Whitestorm blinked. I didn't dare send another cat after her, not with the pack loose. All we could do was sit up in the trees around Sunning Rocks and listen to the howling. A shudder ran through his body. But I should have done something. He did everything, Fireheart told him. He stayed with the clan and kept them safe. Bluestar made her own decision in the end. It was the will of StarClan that she died to save us. Whitestorm nodded slowly, though his eyes were still troubled as he murmured, even though she had lost all faith in StarClan. Fireheart was aware of the secret they shared, that in her last moons, Bluestar's mind had begun to give way. Shocked to the core by the discovery of Tigerstar's treachery, Bluestar had begun to believe that she was at war with her warrior ancestors. Fireheart and Whitestorm, with Cinderpel's help, had managed for the most part to keep the knowledge of the leader's weakness from the rest of the clan. But Fireheart also knew that Bluestar's feelings had changed during the last moments of her life. No, Whitestorm, Fireheart replied, thankful that there was some comfort he could offer the gallant old warrior. She made her peace with StarClan before she died. She knew exactly what she was doing and why. Her mind was clear again, and her faith was strong. Joy tempered the pain in Whitestorm's eyes, and he bowed his head. Fireheart realized how devastating Bluestar's death must be for him. They had been friends throughout a long life. By now, the rest of the clan had crept into the circle around Fireheart. You could see the traces of their terrible experience in their eyes, along with the fear for the future. Swallowing uncomfortably, he realized that it was his duty now to calm those fears. Fireheart, Brackenfur asked hesitantly, is it true that Bluestar's dead? Fireheart nodded. Yes, it's true. She died saving me and all of us. For a moment he thought his voice would fail completely, and he swallowed hard. You all know I was the last cat on the trail to lead the dogs to the gorge. When I was almost at the edge, Tigerstar leaped out at me and held me down so the pack leader caught up to me. He would have killed me, and the dogs would still be loose in the forest, if it hadn't been for Bluestar. She threw herself at the dog, right on the edge of the gorge, and they both went over. You could see a ripple of distress sweeping across his clanmates, like wind stirring trees. What happened then? Phosphor asked quietly. I went in after her, but I couldn't save her. Briefly, Fireheart closed his eyes, remembering the churning water and his hopeless struggle to keep his leader afloat. Mistyfoot and Stonefur from RiverClan came to help me when we had been swept clear of the gorge. It went on. Bluestar was alive when we got her out, but it was too late. Her 9th life was over, and she left us to join StarClan. A yowl of grief came from somewhere among the circle of cats. Fireheart realized that many of the cats had not even been born when Bluestar became leader, and losing her now must feel as if the 4 great oaks of 4 trees had been torn up overnight. He raised his voice, forcing it not to shake. Bluestar isn't gone, you know. She's already watching over us from StarClan. Her spirit is here with us now. Or in her den, he thought privately, sharing tongues with Stonefur and Mistyfoot. I'd like to see Bluestar now, yelled Speckletail. Where is she? In her den? She turned towards the entrance, flanked by Dappletail and Smallier. I'll come with you, Phosphor offered, springing to her paws. Alarm shot through Fireheart. He'd hoped to give Mistyfoot and Stonefur as much time as possible with their dead mother. But he suddenly realized that apart from Greystripe and Sandstorm, no cats even knew that the two RiverClan cats were in the camp. Wait, he began, shouldering his way through the circle. It was too late. Speckletail and Phosphor were already standing in the entrance of Bluestar's den. Their fur bristling, and their tails puffed out to twice the normal size, as they confronted the strange cats. A menacing snarl came from Phosphor. What are you doing here? That was the end of chapter 1. I'm going to take a quick break and then I'll be back and start chapter 2. I'm back. Okay. Right where we left off. Chapter 2. As Fireheart bounded across to Bluestar's den, Speckletail spun around to face him. Her eyes were burning with anger. There are 2 RiverClan cats here, she growled. Mauling our leader's body! No, they're not, Fireheart gasped. They have a right to be here. He realized that the rest of the clan had gathered anxiously behind him, and he heard Cloudtail yowling a challenge, with snarls of rage breaking out all around. Fireheart whirled to face them. Keep back, he ordered. It's all right. Mistyfoot and Stonefur. You know they're here? The voice was Darkstripe's. Dark Tabby thrust his way through the crowd to stand, nose to nose with Fireheart. That was a very crisp page turn. You let enemy cats into our camp? Into our leader's den? Fireheart took a breath, forcing himself to stay calm. He deeply mistrusted the black-striped Tabby, and the clan had been preparing to escape the dog pack. Darkstripe had tried to slip away with Tigerstar's kits. He had sworn that he knew nothing of Tigerstar's plot to destroy ThunderClan with the dogs, but Fireheart was not sure he believed him. Have you forgotten what I told you? He asked. Mistyfoot and Stonefur helped me to pull Bluestar out of the river. So you say, Darkstripe spat. How do we know you're not telling the truth? Why should RiverClan cats help ThunderClan? They've helped us often enough in the past, Fireheart reminded him. More of us would have died after the fire if RiverClan hadn't given us shelter. That's true, meowed Mousefur. She had returned with Cinderpelt from the Medicine Cat's den in time to hear the confrontation. And now she pushed forward to stand beside Darkstripe. But it's no excuse to leave them alone in the den with Bluestar's body. What are they doing in there? We are giving honor to Bluestar. Stonefur spoke defiantly, and Fireheart turned his head to see that the RiverClan deputy and Mistyfoot had appeared in the mouth of the den. They both looked taken aback at the reaction of the ThunderClan cats. Their fur began to bristle as they realized they were being treated as intruders. We wanted to say goodbye to her, Mistyfoot meowed. Why? Mousefur demanded. Fireheart's stomach clenched as Mistyfoot faced the light brown she-cat and answered. She is our mother. Silence fell, broken only by the call of a black bird from the edge of the camp. Fireheart's mind raced as he faced the shocked, hostile stares of his clan. His gaze met Sandstorm's. She looked dismayed, as if she guessed that Fireheart would never have chosen for ThunderClan One sec, I'm just gonna drink some tea. As if she guessed that Fireheart would never have chosen for ThunderClan to discover their leader's secret like this. Your mother? Growled Speckletail. I don't believe it. Bluestar would never have allowed her kids to be raised in another clan. Believe it or not, it's true, Stonefur retorted. Fireheart stepped backwards. Warning. Why did I say backwards? I'm just messing up now. Let me try that again. Fireheart stepped forwards, warning Stonefur to stay silent with a flick of his tail. I'll deal with this now. You and Mistyfoot better go. Stonefur gave him a court nod and took the lead as Mistyfoot made their way towards the Gore's tunnel. Fireheart heard one or two furious hisses as the ThunderClan cats parted to let them pass. The thanks of the clan go with you, Fireheart called out after them, his voice echoing thinly off the high rock. Mistyfoot and Stonefur didn't respond. They didn't even turn to look back before they vanished into the tunnel. Every hair on Fireheart's pelt prickled with the desire to turn and run from his new responsibilities. The secret had been so heavy to keep that Bluestar had given up her kits to another clan. It would be heavier still in the sharing. He wished that he had been given more time to think of what to say. But he knew it was better for his clan to hear the truth from him now, instead of from Tigerstar at the next gathering. As clan leader, he had to face the task, however little he liked it. Dipping his head to Cinderpelt, he bounded up onto the high rock. There was no need to summon the clan. They were already turning to look up at him. For a heartbeat, Fireheart was breathless, unable to speak. He could see the anger and confusion and smell their fear scent. Darkstripe was watching him with narrowed eyes, as if he were already planning what to tell Tigerstar. Bleakly, Fireheart reflected that Tigerstar already knew. He had heard what Bluestar said to her kits as she lay dying by the river. But the Shadow Clan leader would certainly be pleased to hear about ThunderClan's confusion and Fireheart's own difficulties. Tigerstar was sure to find a way to twist it to his advantage in his quest for revenge against ThunderClan and his efforts to recover his kits, Bramblepaw and Tawnypaw. Fireheart took a deep breath and began. It's true that Mistyfoot and Stonefur are Bluestar's kits. He struggled to keep his voice steady and prayed to StarClan to give him the right words so the cats would not turn against Bluestar. Oakheart of RiverClan was their father. When her kits were born, Bluestar gave them to him to be brought up in his clan. How do you know? Snarled Frostfur. Bluestar would have never have done that. If the RiverClan cat said so, they're lying. Bluestar told me herself, Fireheart replied. He met the white cat's gaze. Her eyes blazed with fury and her teeth were bared, but she did not quite dare to accuse him of lying. Are you telling us she was a traitor? She hissed. One or two cats yelled in protest. Frostfur spun around, fur bristling, and Whitestorm rose to face her. Though the senior warrior looked stunned with shock, his voice was steady as he meowed. Bluestar was always loyal to her clan. If she was so loyal, Darkstripe put in, why did she let a cat from another clan father her kits? Fireheart found that question hard to answer. Not long ago, Greystripe had taken a mate from RiverClan and his kits were growing up there now. The ThunderClan cats had been so horrified that Greystripe had felt he couldn't stay in his birth clan any longer. Although he had returned, some cats still felt hostile to him and doubted his loyalty. Things happen, Fireheart replied. When the kits were born, Bluestar would have brought them up to be loyal ThunderClan warriors, but I remember those kits. This time, the interruption was from Smallear. It disappeared out of the nursery. We all thought a fox or badger had gotten them. Bluestar was distraught. Are you saying that was all a lie? Fireheart looked down at the old gray tomcat. No, he promised. Bluestar was devastated at the loss of her kits, but she had to give them up in order to become clan deputy. You're telling us her ambition meant more than her kits? Asked Dustpelt. The brown warrior sounded puzzled, rather than angry, as if he couldn't reconcile this image the wise leader he had always known. No, Fireheart told him. She did it because the clan needed her. She put the clan first, just as she always did. That's true, Whitestorm agreed quietly. Nothing meant more to Bluestar than ThunderClan. Mistyfoot and Stonefur are proud of her courage, both then and now. Fireheart went on, as should we. He was relieved when there was no more open challenges, though the tension among the clan cats did not die away completely. Mousefur and Frostfur were muttering together, casting suspicious glances up at him. Speckletail, tail-tip twitching, stalked across to join them, but Whitestorm moved from one cat to another, clearly backing up what he said, and Smallear was nodding wisely, as if she had respected the hard decision Bluestar had made. Then a single voice rose clearly out of the hum of Ugh, man, I'm gonna try that one again. Then a single voice rose clearly out of the hum of conversation. Fireheart, Tawnypaw piped up. Are you going to be our leader now? Before Fireheart could reply, Darkstripe sprang to his paws. Accept a kitty pet as our clan leader? Are we all mad? It's not a question, Darkstripe. Whitestorm pointed out, raising his voice above shocked exclamations from Sandstorm and Greystripe. Fireheart is clan deputy. He succeeds, Bluestar. That is all there is to it. Fireheart flashed him a grateful glance. The fur on his shoulders had begun to bristle, and he deliberately relaxed so that they lay flat again. He would not let Darkstripe see that his challenging words had provoked him. Yet he could not stifle a moment of doubt. Bluestar had appointed him deputy, but her mind had been clouded by the shock of Tigerstar's treachery, and the whole clan had been shocked because the ceremony had been late. Could that possibly mean he was not the right cat to lead ThunderClan? You kidding me? Another one? That's the second bot banned today, by the way. Thanks, Siri bot. You're doing a great job. But a kitty pet? Darkstripe protested. His yellow eyes glared balefully up at Fireheart. Stinking of two legs and their nests. Is that what we want as our leader? Fireheart felt the familiar rage burn in his belly. Even though he had lived with the clan since the 6 moons old, Darkstripe never let him forget that he was not forest-born. As he struggled with desire to leap down and sink his claws into Darkstripe's fur, Goldenflower rose to her paws and stepped forwards to face the Dark Warrior. You're wrong, Darkstripe, she growled. Fireheart has proved his loyalty to the clan 1,000 times over. No clan-born cat could have done more. Fireheart blinked his thanks to her, surprised that Goldenflower, of all cats, should have supported him so determinedly. She knew of Fireheart's suspicions that her kit, Bramblepaw, would end up as dangerous as his father, Tigerstar. Though he had taken Bramblepaw as his own apprentice, he never felt comfortable around the young cat, and Goldenflower knew it. She had defended her kits fiercely against what she thought was Fireheart's unreasonable hostility. It was all more surprising now that she should stand up for him against Darkstripe. Fireheart, don't listen to Darkstripe, Brackenfur added, his voice to Goldenflower's. Every cat here wants you as leader apart from him. You're obviously the best cat for the job. A murmur of agreement rose from the cats around the High Rock, and Fireheart's heart swelled with gratitude. And who are we to go against the decrees of StarClan? Mousefer added. The deputy always becomes clan leader. That is the tradition of the warrior code, which Fireheart seems to know rather better than you do, Greystripe hissed, flicking his tail contemptuously at Darkstripe. He knew as well as Fireheart that the Dark Warrior had plotted with Tigerstar before the dog attack. Fireheart gestured with one paw to his friend for silence before addressing the whole clan. I promise you that I will spend the rest of my life striving to become the leader that ThunderClan deserves. And with StarClan's help, I will succeed. His gaze was drawn instinctively to Sandstorm, and he felt warmth spread into his paws and the tip of his tail when he saw how proud she looked. As for you, Darkstripe, Fireheart spat, unable to hide his anger. If you don't like the thought of being led by a kitty pet, you can always leave. The dark warrior lashed his tail. There was pure hatred in the look he threw Fireheart. If I had never come to the forest, Fireheart realized, Tigerstar would be leader now, and you would be deputy. He had never intended to provoke a public confrontation with Darkstripe, but the Dark Tabby had driven him to it. Though ThunderClan could not afford to lose any warriors, a large part of Fireheart wanted Darkstripe to take him at his word and leave the clan for good. Yet at the same time, he knew that Darkstripe would go straight to the Shadow Clan and Tigerstar. It was better, Fireheart admitted to himself, to keep his enemies apart. Darkstripe would be less of a threat in ThunderClan, where Fireheart could keep a watch on him. The black-striped warrior went on, staring at him for a few heartbeats more, before whipping around to stalk away. But he did not head for the Gore's tunnel. Instead, he vanished into the warrior's den. Right. Fireheart raised his voice as he turned back to the rest of the clan. Tonight, we'll hold the morning rituals for Bluestar. Hang on! Cloudtail sprang to his paws, tail fluffed up. Aren't we going to attack Shadow Clan? They slaughtered Brindleface and they led the dog pack to our camp. Don't you want revenge? His fur was bristling with hostility. Brindleface had been Cloudtail's foster mother when he first came to ThunderClan as a helpless kid. But Fireheart knew that attacking Shadow Clan right now was not the answer. He signaled with his tail to silence the yowls of agreement that had been broken out as soon as Cloudtail spoke. No, he meowed. This is not the time to attack Shadow Clan. What? Cloudtail stared at him disbelievingly. You'd let them get away with it? Fireheart took a deep breath. Shadow Clan didn't kill Brindleface, or lay the trail for dogs. Tigerstar did. Every rabbit on the trail had the scent of his on it and no other cats. We can't be sure that Shadow Clan even knew that their leader was planning that. Cloudtail let out a snort of contempt. Fireheart fixed his former apprentice with a hard stare, willing him not to argue about this now. He knew what had happened was due to the moon's old enmity between himself and Tigerstar. The Shadow Clan leader would have been pleased to wipe out ThunderClan and take the territory for his own. But that was not his real motive for bringing the pack of dogs to the camp. What Tigerstar wanted more than anything else was to destroy Fireheart. Only then would he have his full revenge for the time when Fireheart had revealed his plot to kill Bluestar and driven him into exile. Sooner or later, Fireheart now knew. He would have to come face to face with Tigerstar in the final confrontation that only one of them could survive. He prayed to StarClan that when the time came, he would have the courage and strength to rid the forest of this bloodthirsty cat. Believe me, he meowed out loud, addressing the whole clan. Tigerstar will pay, but ThunderClan has no quarrel with Shadow Clan. To Fireheart's relief, Cloudtail sat down again, his blue eyes blazing with anger, and muttered something to Lostface. Nearby, Goldenflower was crouched with her tail wrapped protectively around Bramblepaw and Tawnypaw, as if they were still young kids. She had made Fireheart himself tell the young cats what Tigerstar had done, and she was always afraid that the clan would judge them harshly because of their father's crimes. As Fireheart gave his decision not to attack, she visibly relaxed, and the two apprentices eased away from her. Bramblepaw flashed a look at Fireheart from narrowed amber eyes, and Fireheart wondered if he saw hostility there. He pushed the problem of Bramblepaw to the back of his mind as he looked out over the assembled cats. Long shadows were stretching across the camp, and Fireheart realized that the time had come for the clan to make its last farewells to their beloved leader. "We must pay our respects to Blue Star," he announced. "Are you ready, Cinderpelt?" The medicine cat nodded. "Graystripe, Sandstorm," Fireheart went on. "Can you bring Blue Star's body out into the clearing so that we may share tongues with her in the sight of StarClan?" The two warriors got up and vanished into Blue Star's den, reappearing a moment later with their leader's body supported between them. They carried her to the center of the clearing and laid her gently to the hard-packed sand. "Sandstorm, round up our hunting patrol," Fireheart ordered. "When you've said goodbye to Blue Star, I'd like you to stock up fresh kill pile. And Mousefur, when you've finished, could you lead a patrol out towards Snake Rocks and the Shadow Clan border? I want to be sure that all the dogs have gone, and that there are no Shadow Clan cats on our territory. Be careful, though. Don't take any risks." "Sure, Fireheart." The wiry brown tabby got to a pause. "Goldenflower, Longtail, are you coming?" The cats she had named went to join her, and all three moved into the center of the clearing to share tongues with their leader for the last time. Sandstorm followed with Dustpelt and Cloudtail. Cinderpelt stood at Blue Star's head and gazed into the indigo sky, where the first stars of Silverpelt were beginning to appear. According to ancient traditions of the clans, each star represented the spirit of a warrior ancestor. Fireheart wondered if there was one more star tonight, a Blue Star. Cinderpelt's blue eyes shone with the secrets of StarClan. "Blue Star was a noble leader," she meowed. "Let us give thanks to StarClan for her life. She is dedicated to her clan, and her memory will never fade from the forest. Now we commend her spirit to StarClan. May she watch over us in death, as she always did in life." A soft murmuring spread throughout the clan as the medicine cat finished speaking and stood with her head bowed. The warriors Fireheart had chosen to go out on patrol crouched beside Blue Star's body, grooming her fur and pressing their noses to her flank. After a while, they backed away and the other cats took their place, until all the clan had shared tongues with their leader in the sorrowful ritual. I feel like the music's super quiet. I'm gonna turn it up slightly. There we go. The patrols left, and the other cats retreated silently to their dens. Fireheart stood watching near the base of the high rock, and as Brackenfur moved away from his leader's body, he stepped forward to intercept the young warrior. "I've got a job for you," he murmured. "I want you to keep an eye on Darkstripe for me. If he so much as looks across the border to Shadow Clan, I want to know about it." The young Tabby Tom gazed at him, alarm battling with loyalty to his new clan leader. "I'll do my best, Fireheart, but he won't like it. With any luck, he won't know about it. Don't make it too obvious, and ask one or two of the others to help you. Mousefur, maybe, and Frostfur." Seeing that Brackenfur was still doubtful, Fireheart added, "Darkstripe may not have known about the dogs, but he knew that Tigerstar was planning something. We can't trust him." "I can see that," Brackenfur meowed, his eyes troubled. "But we can't watch him forever." "It won't be forever," Fireheart assured him. "Just until Darkstripe proves where his loyalties lie, one way or the other." Brackenfur nodded, then slipped silently into the warrior's den. With no more problems clamoring for his attention, Fireheart was able to cross the clearing to Bluestar's body. Cinderpelt still sat near her head, and Whitestorm was crouched beside her, his head bowed in grief. Fireheart dipped his head to the medicine cat. He settled himself beside Bluestar, searching her face for signs of the leader he had loved so much. But her eyes were closed, never again to burn with the fire that had commanded respect from all the clans. Her spirit had gone to race joyously through the sky with their warrior ancestors keeping watch over the forest. He felt the soft caress of his leader's fur and felt a sense of security flood over him, almost as if he were a kit again. Curling up close to his mother, for a moment he could almost forget the horror of her dying and the loneliness of his new responsibilities. Receive her with honor, Fireheart prayed silently to StarClan, closing his eyes and pressing his nose to Bluestar's fur. And help me keep her clan safe. That was the end of chapter 2. And I'm starting to growl. You know that thing when that I said at the beginning of the stream where the whole like the bubbles and all that from talking a lot and then like swallow, yeah, causes me to growl. I don't know if he ever gets picked up on the microphone, but I feel like it does. Chapter 3. Something was prodding Fireheart in the side. With a muffled mew of protest, he opened his eyes to see Cinderpelt stooping over him. "You dozed off," she murmured. "But you'll have to wake up now. It's time to bury Bluestar." Fireheart staggered to his paws. He flexed each stiff leg in turn, and passed his very dry tongue over his lips. He felt as if he had been crouching in the clearing for a moon at least. The sense of comfort he had felt as he slept was replaced by a wave of guilt. "Did any cat see?" he muttered to Cinderpelt. The medicine cat's blue eyes glimmered with sympathy. "Only me. Don't worry about it, Fireheart. No cat would blame you after what happened yesterday." Fireheart glanced around the clearing. The pale light of the dawn was just beginning to seep through the trees. A few tail lengths away, the elders had assembled to carry out their duty of bearing Bluestar's body to the burial place. The rest of the clan was slowly emerging from their dens, forming two lines between Bluestar's body and the entrance to the gorse tunnel. At a nod from Cinderpelt, the elders took up the body and carried Bluestar between the rows of her grieving warriors. Every cat bowed his head as their leader was borne past. "Goodbye, Bluestar," Fireheart murmured. "I'll never forget you." Sharp thorns of pain pierced his heart, and he saw the tip of her tail scoring a furrow in the blackened leaves that still lay on the ground after the recent fire. When Bluestar had vanished with her escort, the rest of the camp cats began to disperse. Fireheart checked the camp, noticing with approval that the pile of fresh kill had been stocked up. All he needed to do was send out the dawn patrol. Then he could eat and rest. He felt as if a moon of sleep would not be enough to banish the exhaustion from his paws. "Well, Fireheart," meowed Cinderpelt, "are you ready?" Fireheart turned, puzzled. "Ready?" "To go to the Moonstone to receive your 9 lives from StarClan." The tip of Cinderpelt's tail twitched. "Fireheart, surely you hadn't forgotten." Fireheart shuffled his paws uneasily. Of course he hadn't forgotten the ancient ceremony to initiate all new clan leaders. but somehow he hadn't realized that it would take place right away. He felt dazed by the speed at which everything was happening, bearing him forward relentlessly like the swift waters of the gorge that had almost drowned him. Fear rose in his throat, and he had to swallow quickly. No leader ever spoke of the Mystic Raid, so no other cat, except for medicine cats, knew what happened there. Fireheart had visited the Moonstone before, and watched Blue Star share tongues with StarClan in his sleep. That experience had been awe-inspiring enough. He could not imagine what would happen when he had to lie beside the sacred stone himself and share dreams with his warrior ancestors. On top of this, he knew that High Stones, where the Moonstone lay in the cavern far underground, was a whole day's journey away, and the ritual demanded that he not eat beforehand. Not even strengthening herbs that other cats took for the journey. StarClan will give you strength, meowed Cinderpelt, as if she had read his thoughts. Fireheart muttered in vague agreement. Glancing around, he spotted Whitestorm on his way to the warrior's den, and summoned the older warrior with a flick of his tail. I've got to go to High Stones, he meowed. You take charge of the camp. We need a dawn patrol. Consider it done, promised Whitestorm, and added, StarClan go with you, Fireheart. Fireheart took a last look around the camp as he followed Cinderpelt towards the Gorse Tunnel. He felt as if he were going on a long journey, further than he had ever traveled before, but the prospect of return looked doubtful, and in a way, he would return. For the cat who came back would have a new name, new responsibilities, and a new relationship with StarClan. As he turned away, a yowl sounded beside him. Graystripe and Sandstorm were racing across the clearing. You weren't sneaking off without saying goodbye, Graystripe panted, skidding to a halt. Sandstorm said nothing, but she twined her tail with Fireheart's and pressed close to his side. I'll be back tomorrow, Fireheart meowed. Listen, he added awkwardly. I know things will be different now, but I'll never stop needing you, both of you. No cat has ever had such good friends. Graystripe butted him in the shoulder. We know that, you stupid furball, he meowed. Sandstorm's green eyes shone as she gazed into Fireheart's. We'll always need you too, Fireheart, she murmured. And you better not forget that. Fireheart, come on, Cinderpelt called from where she was waiting at the entrance to the Gorse Tunnel. We have to reach High Stones by nightfall. Remember, I can't move as fast as you. Coming. Fireheart gave each of his friends a quick lick before plunging into the Gorse Tunnel after the medicine cat. His heart felt full of hope as he caught up to her and made his way to the top of the ravine. He might have been leaving his old life behind, but he could take with him everything that was important. The sun was up in a clear blue sky, and the forest had melted from the grass by the time the two cats reached Four Trees, where the gathering were held between all four clans every full moon. I hope we don't meet the Wind Clan patrol, Fireheart remarked as they crossed the border onto the high, exposed moorland, leaving the shelter of the forest behind them. Not long before, Blue Star had tried to launch an attack on Wind Clan, accusing them of stealing prey from ThunderClan. Fireheart had disobeyed his leader and risked accusations of treachery to avoid a battle. Although Tallstar, the WindClan leader, had been prepared to make peace, Fireheart could imagine that WindClan cats might still bear a grudge. "They won't stop us," Cinderpelt replied calmly. "They might try," Fireheart argued. "I'd rather avoid them altogether." His hopes were dashed as he and Cinderpelt reached the crest of the stretch of the moorland and saw a WindClan patrol picking their way through the heather a few fox lengths below. They were downwind, so Fireheart had not detected their scent as a warning. The leader of the patrol raised his head, and Fireheart recognized the warrior Torn-Ear. His heart sank when he saw that his old enemy Mudclaw was just behind him, with an apprentice Fireheart didn't know. He and Cinderpelt waited as the WindClan cats bounded through the heather towards them. There was no point in trying to avoid them now. Mudclaw curled his lip in a snarl, but Torn-Ear dipped his head as he halted in front of Fireheart. "Greetings, Fireheart," Cinderpelt, he meowed. "Why are you here on our territory?" "We're on our way to Highstones," Cinderpelt replied, taking a step forwards. Fireheart felt a surge of pride to see the respectful nod the WindClan warrior gave to his medicine cat. "No bad news, I hope?" Torn-Ear asked. Cats did not usually travel to Highstones, unless a crisis in their clan demanded direct communication with StarClan. "The worst," Cinderpelt meowed steadily. "Bluestar died yesterday." All three WindClan cats bowed their heads. Even Mudclaw looked solemn. "She's a great and noble cat," Torn-Ear meowed at last. "Every clan will honor her memory." Raising his head again, he turned to Fireheart with a look of curiosity and respect in his eyes. "So you're to be leader now?" he asked. "Yes," Fireheart admitted. "I'm going to receive my 9 lives from StarClan." Torn-Ear nodded, his gaze traveling slowly over the warrior's flame-colored pelt. "You're young," he commented, "but something tells me you'll make a fine leader." "Thank you," Fireheart stammered, taken by surprise. Cinderpelt rescued him. "We mustn't stay," she meowed. "It's a long way to Highstones." "Of course." Torn-Ear stepped back. "But tell Tallstar your news. May StarClan be with you," he called as the 2 ThunderClan cats bounded away. On the edge of the uplands, they paused again and looked down over a very different landscape. Instead of bare hillside broken by outcrops of rock and patches of heather, Fireheart saw a scattering of 2-legged nests among fields of hedgerows. In the distance, the thunderpath cut a swath across the land, while beyond that jagged hills reared up, the barren slopes looking gray and threatening. Fireheart swallowed. That desolate region was where they were heading. He realized that Cinderpelt was looking at him with understanding in her blue eyes. "Everything's different," Fireheart confessed. "He saw those WindClan cats. Even they don't treat me in the same way anymore." He knew he could never say these things to anyone except the medicine cat. Not even to Sandstorm. "It's as if every cat expects me to be noble and wise. But I'm not. I'll make mistakes, just like I did before. Cinderpelt, I'm not sure I can do this." Mouse brain. Fireheart was both shocked and comforted by the teasing note in Cinderpelt's voice. When you make mistakes, not if, Fireheart, when, I'll tell you about them, believe me. More seriously, she added, "I'll still be your friend, no matter what. No cat that ever lived was perfect all the time. Bluestar wasn't. The trick is to learn from your mistakes and have the courage to be true to your heart." She turned her head and rasped her tongue over his ear. You'll be fine, Fireheart. Now let's go. Fireheart let her take the lead down the slope and across the two-leg farmland. The two cats picked their way over the sticky earth of a plowed field and skirted the two-leg nest where the two loners, Barley and Ravenpaw, lived. Fireheart kept a lookout, but there was no sign of them. He was sorry not to see them, for both cats were good friends to ThunderClan, and Ravenpaw had once trained alongside Fireheart as an apprentice. The distant barking of a dog sent shivers through Fireheart's fur as he remembered the horror of being chased by the pack. Keeping to the shadows of the hedges, they eventually reached the thunder path and crouched beside it, their fur ruffled by the wind of monsters racing past them. The strong reek of their fumes flooded Fireheart's nose and throat, and his eyes stung. Cinderpelt braced herself beside him, waiting for a space between the monsters when it would be safe to cross. I think you guys are hearing that, and that is my cat scratching my door, which he should not be scratching my door. 1 second. All I had to do was say cat and he stops. Okay, where was I? I'm sorry, I got distracted by the cat clawing my door. Right. Cinderpelt braced herself beside him, waiting for a space between the monsters when it would be safe to cross. Fireheart felt anxious for his friend. Her leg had been permanently injured in an accident at the edge of the Thunderpath many moons ago, when she had been his apprentice. The old injury would be slow for her. We'll go together, he meowed, feeling the familiar guilt that he had not prevented her accident. Whenever you're ready. Cinderpelt gave a tiny nod. Fireheart guessed she was afraid, but she wouldn't admit it. A moment later, after a brightly colored monster flashed past, she meowed, "Now!" and limped rapidly out on the hard black surface. Fireheart bounded at her side, forcing himself not to leave her behind, even though his heart was hammering and every instinct screamed at him to run across quickly. He heard the roar of a monster in the distance, but before it arrived, he and the medicine cat were safe in the hedgerow on the other side. The medicine cat lay out a gusty sigh. "Thanks, StarClan, that's over." Fireheart murmured agreement, though he knew they still had to face the return journey. Already the sun was sliding down the sky. The land on this side of the Thunderpath was less familiar to Fireheart, and every sense was alert for danger as they began to climb towards high stones. But all he could hear was prey scuffling and scanty grass. A tempting scent flooded his mouth, and he wished he were allowed to stop and hunt. As Fireheart and Cinderpelt reached the foot of the final slope, the sun was setting behind the peak. The evening shadows were lengthening, and a chill crept over the ground. Above his head, Fireheart could make out a square opening beneath an overhang of stone. "We've reached the mother mouth," Cinderpelt meowed. "Let's rest for a moment." She and Fireheart laid down together on a flat rock while the last of the light died from the sky, and the stars of Silverpelt began to appear. The moon flooded all the landscape in a cold, frosty light. "It's time," breathed Cinderpelt. All his misgivings coursed through Fireheart once again, and at first he thought his paws would not carry him. But he rose and began walking forwards, the sharp stones biting into his pads, until he stood beneath the arch known to the clans as Mother Mouth. A black tunnel yawned into darkness. From his previous visit, Fireheart knew that there was no point in straining his eyes to see what lay ahead. The blackness was unbroken all the way to the cavern where the moonstone lay. As he hesitated, Cinderbelt stepped forwards confidently. "Follow my scent," she told him. "I will lead you to the moonstone, and from now on, until the ritual is over, neither of us must speak." "But I don't know what to do," Fireheart protested. "When we reach the moonstone, lie down and press your nose to it." Her blue eyes gleamed in the moonlight. "StarClan will send you sleep so that you may meet with them in dreams." There was a forest full of questions that Fireheart wanted to ask her, but none whose answers would help him overcome the creeping dread he felt. He bowed his head in silence and followed Cinderbelt as she made her way into the darkness. The tunnel sloped steadily downwards, and Fireheart soon lost his sense of direction as it wound back and forth. Sometimes the walls were so close together that his fur and whiskers brushed the sides. His heart thumped wildly, and he opened his mouth to draw in Cinderbelt's comforting scent, terrified at the thought he might lose her. At last, he realized that he could see Cinderbelt's ears, outlined against a faint light ahead. Other scents began to reach him, and his whiskers twitched in a flow of cold air. A heartbeat later, he rounded a bend in the tunnel, and the light grew suddenly stronger. Fireheart narrowed his eyes as he padded forwards, sensing that the tunnel had opened out into a cave. High above his head, a hole in the roof showed a chink of night sky. A shaft of moonlight shone through it, falling directly onto the rock in the center of the cavern. Fireheart drew in his breath sharply. He had seen the moonstone once before, but he had forgotten just how startling it was. About 3 tail lengths high, tapering towards its top, it reflected the moonlight and its dazzling crystal as if a star had fallen to the earth. The white light lit up the whole cave, turning Cinderbelt's gray fur to silver. She turned towards Fireheart and signaled to him with her tail to take his place beside the moonstone. Unable to speak, even if he could think of anything to say, Fireheart obeyed. He lay down in front of the stone, settling his head on his paws so that his nose touched the smooth surface. The cold was a shock, so that he almost drew back, and for a moment he blinked at the light of the stars sparkling in the depths of the stone. Then he closed his eyes and waited for StarClan to send him to sleep. That was the end of chapter 3. We have 2 more chapters, chapter 4 and chapter 5 for this stream. Chapter 4. All the darkness and cold. Fireheart had never been so cold. He felt as if every scrap of warmth and life were being sucked out of his body. His legs twitched as painful cramps clutched at them. He imagined that he was made of ice, and if he tried to move, he would shatter into 1,000 brittle fragments. But no dreams came. No sight or sound of StarClan. Only the cold and darkness. Something must be wrong, Fireheart thought, beginning to panic. He dared to open his eyes a narrow slit. At once, they flew wide with shock. Instead of the shining moonstone, in a cavern far below the ground, he saw short, well-trodden grass stretching away. Night scents flooded over him, of green, growing things moist with dew. A warm breeze ruffled his fur. Scrambling into a sitting position, Fireheart realized he was in the hollow of 4 trees. Near the base of the great rock, the towering oaks, in full leaf, rested over his head, and silverpelt glittered beyond them in the night sky. How did I come here? He wondered. Is this a dream that Cinderpelt promised? He raised his head and looked up at the sky. He could not remember it being so clear. Silverpelt looked closer than he had ever seen before. Scarcely higher than the topmost branches of the oaks. As Fireheart gazed at it, he realized that the scent, the blood thrilling through his veins. That is such an odd sentence, I am sorry. Yeah. He realized something that sent the blood. Okay, I can reread it now. As Fireheart gazed at it, he realized something that had sent the blood thrilling through his veins like liquid fire. It was missing a word, that's why it was so odd. Writers can't be perfect. The stars were moving. They swirled before his disbelieving eyes and began to spiral downwards towards the forest, towards 4 trees, towards him. Fireheart waited, his heart pounding. And the cats of StarClan came stalking down the sky. Frost sparkled at their paws and glittered in their eyes. Their pelts were white flame. They carried the scent of ice and fire and the wild places of the night. Fireheart crouched before them. He could scarcely bear to go on looking, and yet he could not bear to look away. He wanted to absorb this moment into every hair on his pelt, so it would be his forever. After a time that might have lasted 100 seasons or a single heartbeat, all the cats of StarClan had come down to earth. All around Fireheart, the hollow of 4 trees was lined with their shimmering bodies and blazing eyes. Fireheart crouched in the center, surrounded on all sides. He began to realize that some of the starry cats, those sitting closest to him, were achingly familiar. Blue Star! Joy pierced him like a thorn in his heart. And Yellowfang! Then he drew in a familiar sweet scent and turned his head to see the tortoiseshell fur and gentle face that he had dreamed of so often. Spotted Leaf! Oh, Spotted Leaf! His beloved medicine cat had come back to him. Fireheart wanted to spring to his paws and yell his joy to the whole forest, but awe kept him silent, still crouching. Welcome, Fireheart. The sound seemed to belong to all the cats Fireheart had ever known, and yet at the same time was one clear voice. Are you ready to receive your 9 lives? Fireheart glanced around, but he couldn't see any cat speaking. Yes, he replied, forcing his voice not to shake. I'm ready. A golden tabby cat rose to his paws and strode towards him, his head and tail high. Fireheart recognized Lionheart, who had become Blue Star's deputy when Fireheart was still an apprentice, and who had died soon after in a battle with ShadowClan. Had been an old cat when Fireheart knew him, but now he looked young and strong again, his coat shining with pale fire. Lionheart! Fireheart gasped. Is it really you? Lionheart did not reply. When he was close enough, he stooped and touched his nose to Fireheart's head. It burned against him like the hottest flame and the coldest ice. Fireheart's instinct was to shrink away, but he could not move. With this, I give you courage, Lionheart murmured. Use it well in defense of your clan. At once, a bolt of energy seared through Fireheart like lightning, setting his fur on end and filling his senses with a deafening roar. His eyes grew dark, his mind filled with chaotic swirls of battles and hunts, the feeling of claws raking across fur and teeth meeting in the flesh of prey. The pain ebbed, leaving Fireheart weak and trembling. The darkness faded, and he found himself in the unearthly clearing again. If that was one life I received, I had 8 more to go. How will I bear it? He thought in dismay. Lionheart was already turning away, moving back to his place in the ranks of Starclan. Another cat rose and came towards Fireheart. At first, Fireheart did not recognize him, but then a glimpse, a dark, dappled coat and brushy red tail, and he realized this must be Redtail. Fireheart had never met the Thunderclan deputy, who was murdered by Tigerstar on the very day Fireheart came to the forest as a kitty pet. But he had sought out the truth about his death and used it to prove Tigerstar's treachery. Like Lionheart, Redtail bowed his head and touched his nose to Fireheart's. With this life, I give you justice, he mewed. Use it well as you judge the actions of others. Once more, an agonizing spasm rushed through Fireheart, and he had to grit his teeth to stop himself from yowling. When he recovered, panting as if he had raced all the way back to camp, he saw Redtail watching him. Thank you, the former deputy meowed solemnly. You revealed the truth, and no other cat would. Fireheart managed to nod in acknowledgement as Redtail went back to sit beside Lionheart again. The third cat emerged from the ranks. This time, Fireheart's jaws dropped open when he recognized the beautiful tabby, her coat glimmering with a silvery sheen. It was Greystripe's lost love, Silverstream, the RiverClan queen who had died burying his kits. Her paws scarcely skimmed the ground as she bent down to him. With this life, I give you loyalty to what you know to be right, she meowed. Fireheart wondered if she was referring to the way he had helped Greystripe to see his forbidden love, trusting to the strength of the relationship even though it went against the warrior code. Use it well to guide your clan in times of trouble, Silverstream urged him. Fireheart braced himself for another agonizing pang, but this time there was less pain as the life rushed through him. He was aware of a warm glow of love and realized dimly that that was what had marked out Silverstream's life. Love for her clan, for Greystripe, and for the kits she had died to give life to. Silverstream, he whispered as the silver-gray she-cat turned away again. Don't go yet. Haven't you a message for Greystripe? But Silverstream said nothing more, only glancing back over his shoulder, her eyes filled with love and sorrow that told Fireheart more than all the words she could ever say. And that's only 3. We got a long way to go. He closed his eyes, preparing himself for the next life-giving. When he looked up again, a 4th cat was approaching him. This time, it was Running Wind, ThunderClan warrior who had been killed by Tigerstar in a fight near the Thunderpath. With this life, I give you tireless energy, he meowed as he bowed his head to touch Fireheart. Use it well to carry out the duties of a leader. As the life coursed through Fireheart, he felt as if he were racing through the forest, his paws skimming the ground, his fur flattened by the wind. He knew the exhilaration of the hunt, the sheer joy of speed, and he had the feeling that he could outrun any enemy forever. His gaze followed Running Wind as he returned to his place. When the 5th cat appeared, his heart gave a leap of joy. It was Brindleface, Cloudtail's foster mother, had been cruelly slaughtered by Tiger Star to give the dog pack a taste for cat blood. With this life, I give you protection, she told him. Use it well to take care of your clan, as a mother cares for her kids. Fireheart expected this life to be gentle and loving like Silverstream's, and he wasn't ready for the bolt of ferocity that transfixed him. He felt as though all fury of their ancient ancestors, Tiger Clan and Lion Clan, were pulsing through him, challenging any cat to harm the weaker, faceless shadows that crouched by his paws. Shocked and trembling, Fireheart recognized a mother's desire to protect her kids, and realized how much Brindleface had loved them all, even Cloudtail, who was not her own. I must tell him, Fireheart thought, as the fury ebbed. Before he remembered that he was bound to say nothing to any cat about what he had experienced in the ritual. Brindleface drew back to sit with the other cats of StarClan. Again, and another familiar figure took her place. Guilt washed over Fireheart as he recognized Swiftpaw. I'm sorry, he murmured, as he looked into the apprentice's eyes. It was my fault you died. Angry at Bluestar's refusal to make him a warrior and desperate to prove himself, Swiftpaw had gone out to track down whatever was preying on the cat in the forest. The dog pack had killed him, and Fireheart knew he would blame himself forever for not trying harder to make Bluestar change her mind. But Swiftpaw showed no anger now. His eyes shone with wisdom far beyond his age, and he touched his nose to Fireheart's. With this life, I give you mentoring. Use it well to train the young cats of your clan. The life Swiftpaw gave him was a pang of anguish, so great that Fireheart thought it would stop his heart. It ended in a jolt of pure terror and a flash of light red as blood. Fireheart knew he was experiencing what Swiftpaw had felt the last moments of his life. As it ebbed away, leaving Fireheart gasping, he began to feel like a hollow in the ground as rain falls into it and spills over. He thought that his strength would hardly sustain him to receive lives from the 3 cats that were still to come. The first was Yellowfang. The old medicine cat had the same air of obstinate independence and courage that had impressed and frustrated Fireheart in equal measure when she was alive. Thank you, Litchi. I'm mostly growling though. Ugh. And stretch? Okay. Here, let me mark my place in the book. I'll stretch first and then I'll drink. Probably hear me cracking. Let me get my water. How are you doing, Leshy? I was not expecting to go through all the different experiences with him getting his life. It's actually taking up this entire chapter. Crocheting? What are you crocheting? I want to know before I start reading again. Doing well, a little eepy. Well, yeah. It's like, what is it, like 1 a.m. over there? Like, jeez. I'm pretty sure it's later in the night for you, if I recall correctly. Liver? You're crocheting a liver? What? Huh? I don't know how you'd crochet a liver. You're in the same... Okay. How would you crochet a liver? I can't wrap my head around that. Huh? You're making a body part out of fucking string. What? Okay, good luck with that. You must have found a pattern, knowing you. You sent pics when you did. Okay, I'll enjoy those. Okay, back to reading. I hope you enjoy crocheting your livers. He remembered the last time he had seen her, dying in her den after the fire, and she had been in despair, wondering if Starkland would receive her, even though she had killed her own son, Brokentail, to put an end to his bloodthirsty plotting. Now the gleam of humor is back in her yellow eyes as she stooped to touch Fireheart. With this life, I give you compassion, she announced. Use it well for the elders of your clan, the sick and all those weaker than yourself. This time, even knowing the pain would have to bear, Fireheart closed his eyes and drank in the life hungrily, wanting all of Yellowfang's spirit, all of her courage and her loyalty to the clan that was not hers by birth. He received it like a tide of light surging through him. Her humor, her sharp tongue, her warm-heartedness, and her sense of honor. He felt closer to her than ever before. "Oh, Yellowfang," he whispered, his eyes blinking open again. "I've missed you so much." The medicine cat was already moving away. The cat who took her place was younger, stepping lightly, the sparkle of stars in her fur and in her eyes. Spotted Leaf, the beautiful tortoiseshell who had been Fireheart's first love. She had come to him in dreams, but he had never seen her as plainly as this since she had been alive. He breathed in her sweet scent as she bent over him. This cat, more than any, was the one with whom he wanted to speak, because the time they had together had been too short to let them share their true feelings. Spotted Leaf. With this life, I give you love, she murmured in a soft voice. Use it well for all the cats in your care, and especially for Sandstorm. There was no pain in the life that poured into Fireheart now. It held the warmth of the high sun in Greenleaf, burning to the tips of his paws. It was pure love. At the same time, he experienced the sense of security he had known as a tiny kid, nuzzling his mother. He gazed up at Spotted Leaf, wrapped in the contentment he had never known before. He thought he had caught a proud gleam in her eyes as she turned away, and his disappointment that she had not stayed to talk with him was mixed with relief that she approved of his new choice. Now he had no reason to fear that he was being unfaithful to Spotted Leaf in his love for Sandstorm. That's gotta be interesting, having your old love as a ghost, accepting your new love. Lechi, are you listening here? There's love schemes here. I'm sorry, that was too funny. I'm just thinking about the K-drama perspective of this. I watch too many K-dramas. At last, Blue Star approached Fireheart. She was not the old, defeated cat Fireheart had known recently, her mind giving way under the stress of her clan's troubles. This was Blue Star, at the height of her strength and power, prowling towards him across the clearing like a lion. Fireheart was almost dazzled by the glory of starlight around her, but he forced himself to meet her blue gaze squarely. "Welcome, Fireheart, my apprentice, my warrior, and my deputy," she greeted him. "I always knew you would make a great leader one day." As Fireheart bowed his head, Blue Star touched him with her nose and went on. "With this life, I give you nobility and certainty and faith. Use it well as you lead your clan in the ways of StarClan and the Warrior Code." The warmth of Spotted Leaf's life had lulled Fireheart, and he was unprepared for the agony that shook him as he received Blue Star's. He shared the fierceness of her ambition, the anguish she had suffered when she gave up her kids, the ferocity of battle after battle in the service of her clan. He felt her terror as her mind fragmented, and she lost her trust in StarClan. The rush of power grew stronger and stronger, till Fireheart thought his pelt would never contain it. Just as he thought he must yowl his pain or die, it began to ebb, ending in a sense of calm, acceptance, and joy. A long, soft sigh passed through the clearing. All the StarClan warriors had risen to their paws. Blue Star stayed in the center of the clearing and signaled with her tail that Fireheart should rise too. He obeyed her shakily, feeling as if the fullness of life inside of him would spill over when he moved. His body felt as battered as if he had fought the hardest battle of his life, and yet his spirit soared with strength of the lives he had been granted. "I hail you by your new name, Firestar," Blue Star announced. "Your old life is no more. You have now received the 9 lives of a leader, and StarClan grants to you the guardianship of ThunderClan. Defend it well. Care for the young and old. Honor your ancestors and the traditions of the Warrior Code. Live each life with pride and dignity." Firestar, Firestar. Just as the forest clans would acclaim a new warrior by their name, so the cats of StarClan acclaimed Firestar in rich voices that tingled in the air. "Firestar, Firestar." Suddenly, the chanting broke off with a startled hiss. Firestar tensed, aware that something was wrong. Blue Star's glowing eyes were fixed on something behind him. He spun around and let out a choking cry. A massive hill of bones had appeared on the other side of the clearing, many tail lengths high. It shone with an unnatural light, so that Firestar could see each separate bone edged as if it was with fire. The bones of cats and the bones of prey all jumbled together. A hot wind swept over him, bearing the reek of carrion, even though the bones gleamed white and clean. Firestar gazed wildly around him, seeking help or answers from the other cats, but the clearing was dark. The cats of StarClan had vanished, leaving him alone with a terrible hill of bones. As Firestar felt panic welling up inside him, he sensed the familiar presence of Blue Star by his side. Warm fur pressed against his flank. He could not see her in the darkness, but her voice whispered in his ear. Something terrible is coming, Firestar. 4 will become 2. Lion and tiger will meet in battle, and blood will rule the forest. Wait! Firestar yelled. Don't leave me. Tell me what you mean. But there was no reply, no explanation of the dreadful prophecy. Instead, the red light that gleamed from the Hill of Bones glowed brighter. Firestar stared at it in horror. Blood had begun to ooze out between the bones. The trickles emerged into a river that flowed steadily towards him, until the stench of blood clung to his fur. He tried to flee and found his paws were fixed in place. A heartbeat later, the sticky red tide was washing around him, gurgling and reeking of death. No! Firestar yelled, but there was no response from the forest, just the steady whisper of blood lapping hungrily at his fur. That's the end of chapter 4. Got one last chapter for this stream, and that's chapter 5. I'm gonna drink some water real quick, and we'll just continue on and get this done. Chapter 5. Firestar jolted awake in terror. He was lying in the cabin beneath high stones with his nose pressed against the moonstone. The shaft of moonlight had vanished. Only the faintest of glimmer of starshine lit the cave. But there was no relief in waking up, for the stench of blood was still around him and his fur felt hot and sticky. Heart thudding wildly, Firestar scrambled to his paws. Across the cave, he could just make out Cinderpelt. She had risen too and was signaling urgently to him with her tail. Firestar's first impulse was to pour out to her all that he had seen, but he remembered her instructions to keep silent until they had left Mothermouth. Paws skidding on the cave floor in his haste, he pushed past the medicine cat and bolted into the tunnel. As he stumbled upwards towards the open air, following his own scent trail along the dark passage, the way seemed twice as long before. Firestar's fur scraped against the tunnel walls, and he was filled with horror at the thought of being buried alive. The air felt too thick to breathe, and his panic grew. In the unbroken blackness of the tunnel, he began to imagine that it would never end. That he would be trapped there, forever in blood and darkness. Then he saw the pale outline of the tunnel entrance and burst out into the still night air, where the moon was sinking behind thin clouds. Firestar dug his claws into the loose earth of the hillside while shudders passed through his body from nose to tail. A few moments later, Cinderpelt emerged behind him and pressed herself against his side, until he managed to control his dreadful shivering, and his breathing steadied. What happened? She asked quietly. Don't you know? Cinderpelt shook her head. I know that the ritual was interrupted. The scent of blood told me that. I don't know why. She looked deep into his eyes. Her own were burning with concern. Tell me, did you receive your 9 lives and your name? Firestar nodded, and the medicine cat relaxed slightly. Then the rest can wait. Let's go. For a moment, Firestar felt too exhausted to move, but he did not want to stay anywhere near Mothermouth and the terrible things that he had seen in the cave. Shakily, pasta by pasta, he began to descend the hill. Cinderpelt padded beside him, sometimes nudging him towards an easier route, and Firestar was grateful for her unquestioning presence. As they drew further away from the tunnel, the stench of blood faded from his mouth and nostrils. Still, Firestar felt that even if he washed for a moon, he would never get rid of the last traces from his fur. He began to feel stronger, but he was still very tired, and as soon as the rocky hillside gave way to grass, he flopped down in the shelter of a hawthorn bush. "I've got to rest," he meowed. Cinderpelt tucked herself into the grass beside him, and for a few moments the two cats shared tongues in silence. Firestar wanted to tell the medicine cat what he had seen, but something kept him silent. Partly he wanted to protect her from the dreadful fear he had felt. Even if she could explain what Bluestar's prophecy meant, would it help to have another cat look forwards to the future with the dread that he had now felt? And partly he hoped that if he never spoke of the dreadful vision, it might not come true. Or was there a curse on his leadership that nothing could avert? Bluestar had told him before she died that he was the fire who would save the clan. How could that be true? If the fire was quenched by the tidal wave of blood he had just seen. Firestar experienced prophetic dreams before, and he had learned to take them seriously. He could not ignore this, especially when it came at such a significant moment. While he was receiving his 9 lives and his new name, Cinderpelt broke into his reverie. "It's okay if you don't want to talk about it yet, you know." Firestar pushed his muzzle into her fur, grateful for her warmth. "I'll think about it first," he mewed slowly. "Right now, it's too close." He shivered again at the memory. "Cinderpelt," he went on. "Never told any cat this before, but sometimes I have dreams that tell me about the future." Cinderpelt's ears twitched in surprise. "That's unusual. Clan leaders and medicine cats commune with StarClan, but I've never heard of ordinary warriors having prophetic dreams. How long has this been going on?" "Since I was a kitty pet," Firestar admitted, remembering the dream of hunting a mouse that had first driven him into the forest. "But I don't know if the dreams come from StarClan. After all, before he came to the forest, he hadn't even known about StarClan. Could they have been watching over him even then?" The medicine cat's eyes were thoughtful. "In the end, all dreams come from StarClan," she murmured. "Do they always come true?" "Yes," Firestar replied, "but not always in the way I expect. Some are easier to understand than others." "Then you should bear that in mind when you're trying to understand this latest dream." Cinderpelt gave him a comforting lick. "Remember, Firestar, you're not alone. Now that you're clan leader, StarClan will share many things with you. But I'm here to help you interpret signs. Tell me as much or as little as you want." Though Firestar was grateful for understanding, Cinderpelt's words chilled him. His new relationship with StarClan was driving him along new paths where he might not want to go. For a few heartbeats, he longed to be no more than a warrior again, hunting with Greystripe or sharing tongues with Sandstorm in the den. "Thank you, Cinderpelt," he meowed, forcing himself to his paws. "I promise I'll talk to you whenever I feel the need." But even though he meant what he said, deep down he wondered how helpful she would be. Firestar couldn't help feeling that this was something he had to face alone. He let out a long sigh. Let's keep going. However much Firestar longed to get home, his strength was failing. Since the discovery of the dog pack and the heart-stopping dash through the forest to lead him to the gorge, he had eaten little and scarcely slept except to dream. The long journey to High Stones and the agony of receiving his 9 lives, followed by the terrible vision, had taken all he had to give. Hello, welcome in. Currently on the last chapter of the stream, chapter 5. I am reading Warriors, the Warrior Cat series, and this is book 6. I am Scriptsune, your book reading kitsune. I hope you enjoy your stay. His steps became slower and more uncertain. They were passing Barley's farm when the medicine cat gave him and his shoulder a sharp nudge. That's enough, Firestar, she meowed firmly. As your medicine cat, I'm telling you, you need to rest. Let's see if Barley and Ravenpaw are at home. Good idea. Firestar felt too relieved at the prospect of resting to argue. Cautiously, the 2 cats approached the 2-leg barn. Firestar was worried that the dogs might be unchained, but their scent was faint and distant. Much stronger was the scent of cats, and as they drew closer, Firestar spotted a muscular black and white Tom squeezing himself through a gap in the door. Barley! He meowed in greeting. It's good to see you. You know Cinderpelt, our medicine cat? Barley gave both cats a brisk nod. It's good to see you too, Fireheart. Firestar, Cinderpelt corrected him. He's clan leader now. Barley's eyes widened in astonishment. Congratulations! But that means Bluestar must be dead. I'm sorry. She died as she lived, protecting her clan, Firestar told him. I can see there's a story to tell, meowed Barley, turning back to the barn. And Ravenpaw will want to hear it. Come on in. Inside the barn was warm and dark, full of the scent of hay and mice. Firestar listened to the telltale scuttering noises, and his head spun with hunger. Soft place to sleep, and all the prey you can eat, he remarked, trying not to let his desperate hunger show. Better not tell ThunderClan, or they'll be out here wanting to be loners. Barley chuckled softly. Ravenpaw called, come and see who's here. Dark shapes sprang down from a nearby stack of hay with a welcoming purr. As an apprentice, Ravenpaw had been the only cat in ThunderClan who knew the truth about the death of Redtail. That he had been murdered by Ravenpaw's mentor, Tigerstar. When Tigerstar tried to kill his apprentice to prevent him from reporting what he had seen, Firestar had found his new home for him. The life of a loner suited Ravenpaw, much better than that of a warrior. Yet he had never forgotten his birth clan, and remained loyal to his friend and his former clanmates. So Bluestar is dead, he murmured when Barley had passed on the news. His eyes clouded with grief. I'll never forget her. Barley gave a comforting rumble in his throat, and Firestar sensed how welcoming he must have been to this scared young apprentice that had come to him so many moons ago. Straightening up, Ravenpaw flashed the black and white cat a grateful glance. So you're clan leader now, he continued to Firestar. StarClan made a good choice. He led the way to the other side of the barn. Would you like to hunt? That'd be great, replied Cinderpelt. She gave Firestar a questioning look and murmured, Shall I catch something for you? In spite of his exhaustion, Firestar shook his head. The fine clan leader he would make if he couldn't catch his own prey. He stood alert, listening, and dropped into the hunter's crouch when he heard a soft scuffling deep within the hay. Pinpointing the mouse, by hearing rather than sight, he sprang and dispatched the creature with a swift bite. Ravenpaw was lucky, Firestar reflected as he picked up the prey in his jaws and patted back to the others to eat. This was twice the size of the leaf-bare-thin mice in the forest, and easier to catch in the shadows of the barn. He gulped it down in a few famished mouthfuls and felt his strength beginning to return. Have some more, Ravenpaw urged. There are plenty here. And Firestar and Cinderpelt had eaten as much as they could manage. They lay in the soft hay, sharing tongues with their friends, bringing them up to date with clan news. Ravenpaw and Barley listened, their eyes huge with shock, as Firestar told them about the dog pack. I always knew Tigerstar was bloodthirsty, Ravenpaw meowed. But I didn't think he would even try to destroy a whole clan like that. Thanks StarClan he didn't succeed, Firestar replied. But he came pretty close. I don't want to go through anything like that again. You have to do something to stop Tigerstar now, before we try something else, Barley pointed out. Firestar nodded. He hesitated, then confessed. But I don't know how I'm going to do anything without Bluestar. Everything seems dark and overwhelming. He said nothing about the interpretation of his leadership ritual, or the horror of his dream. But he saw from the sympathetic look in Cinderpelt's eyes that she knew what he was thinking. Remember, the whole clan is behind you, she mewed. No cat will ever forget that you and Bluestar saved us from the pack. Maybe they expect too much of me. Nonsense. Cinderpelt's tone was bracing. They know you're going to be a great leader, and they'll all stand by you to the last breath. So will I, Ravenpaw offered, startling Firestar. The sleek black Tom looked slightly embarrassed as Firestar turned to look at him, but he went on. I know I'm not a warrior, but if you want my help, you have only to ask. Firestar blinked his gratitude. Thank you, Ravenpaw. Ready to come to the camp soon? Ravenpaw asked. I'd like to pay my last respects to Bluestar at her burial place. Yes, of course, Firestar replied. Bluestar gave you the right to go there when you like on ThunderClan territory. There's no reason to change that now. Ravenpaw dipped his head. Thank you. As he looked up again, Firestar saw a glow of respect in his eyes. You saved my life once, Firestar. I'll never be able to repay you for that. But if trouble with Tigerstar comes, I'll be proud to stand with the warriors of ThunderClan and fight him to the death. That is the end of chapter 5. Oh. I feel like the majority of that... Oh, I just cracked my neck. I feel like the majority of that was mostly just Firestar receiving his 9 lives. I guess they have to do the whole ramp up. But, it's nice that he got to see the other cats, but it's too bad that they didn't get to talk to him, but typical, I guess. Can't have the new leader hanging on to the past. So, I guess we'll find out what the heck is going on with those, other 2 Cats of Blood clan. Oh, you know what? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's Blood clan, like, It did show a lot of blood, right? So what if it's linked to Blood Clan? That's possible. That's very possible. Anyway, thank you guys for coming by, and I hope you guys enjoyed the reading. Of course, next week there's going to be another 5 chapters. And if you're a little bit confused on why you're not hearing it in 2 different ears, is because I have it on one channel right now. I'm reading this book on the single channel to see if people like it more than the 2 ears when I, like, you know, switch ears. But yeah. Thank you guys for coming by, and I will see you guys later. Bye.